Hello, it's Neumarr Sixstar back again, and today what I would like to do is share with you a one thought solution. And it's something that I've written about in my blog, my Good Bumper Sticker blog on WordPress. And I speak of it often because it was surprisingly effective. And basically, probably, I think, the hardest challenge that I faced in my adult life was my divorce. I had been married for 19 years and had 3 children, young children. The youngest was, what year was that? 6 or 7. When the divorce was happening, when the breakup was going on. And this breakup was very difficult for me because I'm a child of divorce. My parents divorced when I was 3. And I really attributed a lot of the ills and difficulty in my childhood to being raised by a single mother who was gone most of the time. She was a nurse and she pretty much worked 80-hour weeks to support us. So I raised myself alone, and I felt alone a lot of the time, and I just didn't want anything remotely like that for my children. I was not happy at all with my childhood. And I wanted better for my own children. And, you know, all of us seek to fix the ills of our own youth, I think, in the way we go about raising our own children. So a lot of that is in response to something that really doesn't have anything to do with them personally. But, you know, try to get that through to yourself. It takes a long time to understand it. But point being, this divorce was crushing to me. When I found out that my ex-husband wanted to leave, I just pretty much went catatonic. I somehow managed to make it to work, but it was really hard. And I was able to pretty much just work with my door closed and just keep my peace, which is what I did for a long time. I was too upset to eat. I lost 30 pounds in 3 months. You know, nothing like an unwanted divorce to help you get rid of your baby weight. Got rid of all my baby weight. And one of the things that happened is, you know, and I think it's pretty common, is that I blamed the woman that he left me for everything wrong. And I really hated her. So I spent about 2 years in a state of rage and hate. And I mean really serious rage and hate. I spent a lot of time thinking about ways to hurt this person. And I mean really hurt this person. And there are many people who act on those thoughts. I never did, because I knew if I did, I would basically be put in prison. And we do have the death penalty. I'm in Virginia. We still have the death penalty here. So I could have been imprisoned or put to death for the things I wanted to do to her. I was so angry. And I couldn't shake it, despite being awakened. So this occurred in 2011 is when it started. I had been awakened since 2009. And awakening really did change me. But despite the fact that I was awakened, this old like caveman part of me just took over. And I felt brutal and angry and vengeful. And I couldn't control it. And this went on for I think a good 2 years. That her name's Emily. Every time I heard the name Emily, And can you imagine how many times you hear the name Emily in a week? Trust me, you hear it. And every time I heard the name, it sent me into, I just felt sick. It made me feel sick inside and angry. And it just made me go back to all those brutal thoughts that I was thinking about her. And rage. It was misery. Misery. And I was never happy. There was not one happy moment for me in those 2 years. Not one. And it was just a matter of, was I in a state of complete despair or rage? But I alternated between despair, hopelessness, and rage. Horrible. And it's because I couldn't accept what had happened, and I couldn't see the good in the new circumstances being presented to me. But I just simply wasn't in a state of acceptance. I finally got to the point that I was so weary of rage. It was just wearing me out. And it was so hard to live such a joyless existence. And I knew that no matter what I tried everything, and I couldn't stop. I just couldn't stop. So, in a moment of what turns out to be clarity, I just finally handed it over. I just was so desperate and felt so incapable of fixing it myself that I just handed it over to the angels one day. I just was like, I can't fix this. I don't know what to do to heal. I just have to stop now and just turn it over. I'm not even going to try anymore. Angels, God, Jesus, I'm handing it over. Help me. And then I just stopped. I just stopped everything mentally, emotionally, and just was like, I've handed it over. They're going to bring me an answer. They did. And what I have discovered is that I think that the technique can be used in other ways as well. Now, in this particular case, it was a one thought solution. And basically what filtered into my consciousness was whenever I heard her name, saw her name, or saw anything that reminded me of her, made me think of her, whereas I had once had a reaction of rage and vengefulness and vindictiveness, where that had been my reaction for a couple of years, I was going to only allow myself one thought. And that thought was, there is a picture of me from my honeymoon in Maine. And I was on a beach. I was wearing a hat. It was a hat I had gotten on a trip to China. It was a really pretty kind of coolie hat made out of straw. But I was wearing this hat. And the picture, the camera was from below, and behind me was bright blue sky. So it was just me smiling, radiant and happy in this hat with the bright blue sky and sunshine behind me. And so the thought that came to me was, whenever I think of her, I'm going to put her face in that picture, basically in my honeymoon picture. And I'm going to feel her. I think the feeling part is the important part. But I'm going to feel her feeling happy and healthy and well, just like I did in that picture. But instead of my face, I would see her face. So it was a matter of discipline. And so every time anything reminded me of her, that was all I would allow myself. I wouldn't allow myself any resentment. I wouldn't allow myself any self-pity. I wouldn't allow myself any rage or getting even thoughts. I just made it was like, that's all you get. Hear the name Emily, see the name Emily, think about her, see her in that picture. Sun shining, she is radiant, and she feels happy and good, and she's healthy. And that's what I did, just religiously. I think maybe a couple times I'll let myself get mad and think mean things again. But pretty much, I mean, I'd say, over 99% of the time, that was all I allowed myself. It's almost like, being on a diet or taking your medicine on time. It was just a matter of rigor and discipline. And, it changed the energy. It changed the energy. I think it was maybe by 2014 that I finally let the children go visit their father where he lived with her. It took me a long time to get there, over a couple years, but slowly the energy transformed from rage to acceptance. And by this point, it's now 2017, so it's almost not quite 6 years from the time that I first learned that my husband intended to leave me. And, maybe I'll start using different words to describe that event in future. But at this point, I'm really good friends with Emily. We're good friends. And I cherish her. And I know she's an old soulmate that I've had lots of lifetimes with. And I'm really grateful to her. First of all, she set me free. I'm happy to be walking my path alone now. I'm much happier this way than I was in a marriage with someone who, we're good friends, but, it just wasn't really, we did what we were supposed to do in our relationship. We brought the 3 children into the world who needed to be here, and who have their particular talents because of the genes they got from us. They're all very musical, and they're all intelligent, they're funny, they're creators. And I'm grateful for having had the opportunity to have these children with my old soulmate. And I'm grateful for my soulmate, Emily, who helped me to move along to a new fork in the road. And this is where I needed to be on the path. But because I clung so to the pain of my childhood and wanting to fix it, I just couldn't see that I could step away from that old thought process. And all it took for me to radically change the way that I thought, the way that I felt, and the way that I handled my relationships. It just took one thought. And so that's why I think of it as the one thought solution. I just pictured her, basically in my honeymoon picture, feeling happy, healthy, and well. And it worked. It changed the energy. And once the energy shifted, it just got better and better. So if there is a person who brings out the absolute worst in you that you really just despise, I recommend that when you feel able, you do have to take your time to spend out all that negative energy, all that negative programming you have, all your negativity and hard thought about this person and hard feelings. You have to experience those. You can't, it just doesn't work. I've tried it. You just can't go to this place of somebody's done something that has radically upset your world. You can't go to a place of instant forgiveness. It doesn't work. You really do have to let yourself feel all those human feelings. But once you get to a place where you've really felt them long enough and you are ready to be free of them, then try this. It worked for me, and it worked where I just couldn't see an answer otherwise. So my one thought solution for hate is to picture this person in, choose a picture of yourself. Put this person's face in that picture. And the important part is feel them feeling happy, healthy, and well. When you wish well, for those who you think you hate, it heals. It's healing. Worked for me. And it worked where I can't even believe it worked, and it's worked wonders. And I have a very happy, healthy, harmonious family now, and all of us get together. So Emily and I make Christmas dinner together now. So anyway, thank you, Divine, for showing me that way and for allowing me to share it with others.